Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we travel together to the Tai Po district of Hong Kong, China. I don't know if you've ever been there yourself. I've been there about 8 times in my former life as an airline pilot, and it was absolutely beautiful. I know that terrible crimes can happen in many places, but to know that you've actually been to a place where such a gruesome crime has happened is quite an unsettling feeling. Now today we're looking at the case of 28-year-old Abby Choi, who was reported missing on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, which was just last week depending on when you're watching this. Within 3 days, the case would go from a missing persons case to a really gruesome homicide investigation and a manhunt. Thankfully, her ex-husband, while he was trying to flee on a speedboat, was caught. Before we get into the case, let me just say that this content is for adults only. If you are brand new here, then welcome to the Grizzly True Crime community. I hope that you'll consider subscribing and hitting the bell. I usually do live streams on this channel, so make sure that your notifications are turned to all because it's at all different times depending on where in the world I'm covering cases from and what's really happening. So you don't want to miss out on those. If you're wondering what this accent is, I am South African, living in the Netherlands with my Swiss husband, and as I say, I've traveled quite a lot in my life, so I don't know, people say I have quite a mixed accent. But welcome, and let's get into the case. Abby Choi was born on July 11th, 1994 in Hong Kong, China. She was the eldest of 3 daughters from a very wealthy family who operated a construction business in Hong Kong. Her personal net worth was more than $100 million. Everybody who knew her said that she was a very private person, but she was extremely kind, very giving, and as we go through the story, you'll see what I mean. Abby loved everything to do with beauty and fashion and had actually aspired to be a model and made her dreams come true. She was featured in several magazines including Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Elle, and just 2 weeks before she was murdered, she was actually featured in a magazine known as L'Official Monaco. When Abby was just 18 years old, she married Alex Kwong. They had 2 beautiful children together. Now the thing is, Alex Kwong seems to be quite a naughty boy. He had previously been charged with several counts of all sorts of theft, it seems to be. The couple eventually got divorced, and Abby actually remarried in 2016. But she kept a very close relationship to her former in-laws. In fact, her brother-in-law was her personal chauffeur, and she had rented out some of the property that she owned to her former in-laws, including her ex-husband. Her former brother-in-law was also her business partner, on top of being her personal chauffeur, and he was very close with her, oftentimes posting on Instagram, calling her sis on Instagram, or using the hashtag family. Now on Tuesday, the 21st of February, 2023, the reason she was reported missing was because she was going to pick her children up from school. She had 2 children with her new husband. So far, I hope that you're following. 28-year-old model, socialite, influencer, had remarried in 2016. She had 2 children with her new husband. She was living a wonderful life, living her dreams, still very close to her ex-husband, of course, still seeing her other 2 children and providing accommodation to her ex-in-laws and all of that. And then her former brother-in-law was also her chauffeur and business partner. So I hope that we're all on the same page at this point in the story. Now on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, Abby was supposed to go fetch her children from school, as always, and when she didn't, she was immediately reported missing because everybody knew she would never just forget or just not pick up her children. Now, apparently there were some financial disputes going on between her and her ex-in-laws. She wanted to sell the property that she was renting out to them. From my understanding, they weren't renting it for too long, but there was some tension building between her. I think she was actually getting some self-respect, if I'm reading between the lines correctly. And so she was going to sell that property and move on with her life. But her ex-husband and his family were not having it. The last time anyone saw her, she was entering a car with her chauffeur, that business partner, the former brother-in-law, and she was never seen again. On Friday, February 24th, the police entered that apartment, and to their horror, it is like a Jeffrey Dahmer story now, they plucked open the fridge and found 2 women's legs. They also looked in some pots, and they found some stuff on the boil, including ribs, body parts, and also with some carrots and red radishes. The point at which the manhunt was ongoing, and they were looking for Alex Kwong. They hadn't yet found her head and some other remains, but since then, since catching him and everything, the latest update is they found her head boiling in a soup pot. Now, I'm not too sure what to think about that. Was this a greedy, cannibalistic family, or what is really going on here? Were they using vegetables to try to mask the smell of cooking human remains, or were they planning on having some sort of feast? Either way, it must have been absolutely horrifying for the police to find that in that apartment. Now get this. The police have found that the mastermind behind Abby Choi's murder and dismemberment was not actually her ex-husband, but her ex-father-in-law. His name is Kwong, and he's a former policeman who has previously been accused of SA. Motive? This is where we'd like to call upon Mike from that chapter to do some sort of life insurance dance for us, right? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go check out that chapter. But this motive was the cliched one of money. Or, more accurately put, the result of a financial dispute. I don't know how this family thought this would solve any of their problems, but maybe they just felt like they want to keep their house and keep everything they have and then take all of Abby Choi's money. I'm not sure how they were planning on doing that, but whoa. By the way, at the scene, the police also found a meat grinder and an electric saw. And they say in that pot of soup, there was also like minced meat, which they believed to be human remains. On February 25th, 2023, 3 people were arrested. This would be Abby Choi's former brother-in-law and her ex-husband's parents, so her former parents-in-law. But the manhunt was on to find Alex Kwong, who had made a run for it. So on February 25th, the ex-husband, his parents, and his brother were all arrested and charged with her murder. And then there was another arrest, and that was of the mistress of that former father-in-law. And all of them appeared in court on February 27th, just this past Monday. The next court date for all of them is apparently May 8th, while the murder investigation continues. By the way, when that manhunt was ongoing, a 2 million Hong Kong dollar reward was put up. You see, in manhunt situations and oftentimes missing persons cases, rewards do help. Oh, and if you're wondering why the mistress was arrested, it's because she helped to hide Alex Kwong for some time while he was making his escape. You know, I don't like being graphic. I do just want to say that while they found 2 legs and a skull and ribs, the police are still looking for Abby Choi's hands and torso. And they say some other body parts as well. Now in Hong Kong, the death penalty was pretty much the automatic sentence for murder, but then it was abolished in 1993. So now a conviction of murder carries a mandatory life sentence. Now, let me quickly read you this article here, which says, family friends of slain Hong Kong model Abby Choi gather outside the crime scene to pay respects. I can't imagine the horror that they're going through. Family and friends of slain model Abby Choi Tin Fung on Tuesday made their first public appearance since her murder, gathering outside the crime scene in Hong Kong's Tai Po to pay their respects and vowing justice will be done. The group stood in a line in front of the village house at Lung Mei Tsuen, where police last Friday discovered some of the 28-year-old's remains, assembling to burn incense sticks and wishing the socialite farewell. The mourners who gathered at noon included Choi's current husband, Chris Tam, her parents and in-laws, as well as some friends of the family. Of course, that would mean her current in-laws, in case anyone's confused. The group was accompanied by Taoist priests who performed a ceremony on behalf of the model. Rest in peace, my wife, Tam said as he bowed before the ceremony's altar. Choi's mother sobbed as Tam clasped her arm in support, while the socialite's mother-in-law said her own farewells. Your kindness has been misplaced. People will be held responsible and justice will be done, Choi's mother-in-law said. She added the family would take good care of the model's 4 children, 2 of whom Choi had with her former husband who was charged with her murder. Can you imagine what those 2 children are going through, knowing now their dad, grandparents, uncle, and their other lady were all arrested and will likely be facing life imprisonment charges. They lost their whole family in one day and had to find out how they lost their mother too. That is a lot to deal with. Holding a paper doll and a spirit tablet bearing Choi's name, the family later boarded private cars and left the scene without responding to questions from the media. I don't blame them at all. The group had earlier visited a mortuary in Sha Tin at 9 a.m. to identify Choi's body, staying there for around 2 hours. A man surnamed Cheng, a member of Peom's charitable organization, which was co-founded by Choi, said the socialite's husband, father, and mother-in-law, as well as her parents, had come to mourn and to pay their respects. We came to accompany the family, as we can imagine the family will have a big reaction when they identify the body, he said. They are still very depressed. I'm wondering how they've asked them to identify the body when the body was dismembered and they only found 2 legs, ribs, and a skull. That is a pretty scary thought. A friend of Choi was earlier authorized to speak on the family's behalf, saying her husband Tam was very happy and grateful to have met the socialite. She has brought me 4 cute and obedient children and has supported and loved me, Tam had said. Choi's father-in-law also described her as a precious daughter without ties of blood, while her mother-in-law said the victim had been nice to everyone in the family and their household staff. The death of the 28-year-old model has attracted worldwide media attention over the past week, with police still searching for the last of her remains. 4 of her former in-laws were remanded in custody without bail on Monday in connection with her murder. That mistress, a 47-year-old woman, was arrested on Sunday on suspicion of aiding and abetting a suspect in the murder, and now she was released on bail. By the way, she was released on bail pending further investigation, police said on Tuesday. I'm guessing maybe she didn't know what exactly he'd done, especially with his former theft charges. Maybe she thought she was just offering him a place to stay while he's running from the police because he had stolen something, but this was much, much worse. Separately, nearly 100 police officers clad in protective clothing and equipment on Tuesday morning began surveying a section of a landfill in northeastern Tai Po Ling to uncover the last of Choi's body parts. During the search operation, police were observed combing through a football field-sized depression unearthed using excavators and bulldozers. Superintendent Alan Chung Galun of the force's Kowloon West Regional Crime Unit said security footage suggested that someone last Wednesday had thrown away evidence at a refuse collection point including body parts, clothing, phones, and a murder weapon. The work will definitely not be done today. It will take 1 or 2 days more, he said. Police also confirmed the location where the daily refuse was unloaded with the garbage truck driver and were confident they could recover the evidence, Chung added. Officers, as of 1 p.m., had recovered several bones that would need to be tested for confirmation of their origins, the superintendent said. They halted the operation at about 5 p.m. after the search for the murder weapon. Choi's missing body parts, her clothes, and her mobile phone yielded no results. The gruesome murder came to light on Friday after police found 2 severed legs believed to be Choi's inside a refrigerator in the flat. A skull and several ribs were subsequently discovered in a large soup pot seized from the property. Can you believe this story? That a beautiful 28-year-old model, socialite, influencer, and mother of 4 was murdered and dismembered by the mastermind, her ex-father-in-law, her ex-husband, that ex-brother-in-law that she trusted so much, and also that her ex-mother-in-law was involved in this, as well as the mistress. And all of this over financial disputes, over money. It always makes me sad when a life is taken. Everybody deserves love, respect, and value. Everybody deserves to live. But it's even worse when people take someone's life, especially when it's a family. It's people that she trusted before. It's people that she was giving to. She was helping them out. She was a former daughter-in-law, the mother of those parents, their grandkids. And to think that this entire family thought this was a really great idea is absolutely sickening. Let's have a little look at the map. I don't know the exact address, nor do I have any desire to show their exact address. But in case you've never been to Hong Kong before, let's do a little bit of map time. Okay, so I hope you can see my cursor. This is the Netherlands. That's where I live. A lot of you, about 80% of my audience lives here in the United States, all over the United States. Of course, there's Grizzlies from all over the place, but feel free to let me know where you are from if you're here with us during the premiere. I'm originally from South Africa. That's South Africa right over here. And I suppose we could have gone westward from America, but if we go this way like this is where the Tai Po district is. You can see China is a huge country right here. And if we zoom in here, we could see Hong Kong. And if we go a little further north here, this is the Tai Po district, which is where this crime happened. It's actually a really beautiful area as well. You can see he has a waterfront park and everything. And sadly, this is where Abby Choi was born and raised in China and in her home district, Tai Po. Here's Providence Bay and the Science Park. And if you do go to Hong Kong, or if you've been, you'll know all about those bus tours, like the red bus tour and the green bus tour. Some of them go all the way north up here as well. So if you're there, I would highly recommend that. Well, that's the story as we know it for now. The next court date, as I say, is May the 8th. We'll see what happens there. Thank you so much for watching this episode today. It's a little different from what I normally do. Let me know in the comments if you like this type of style of content. I will now, as always, leave you guys with a tribute to Abby Choi and sending her loved ones, her family, her friends, her children, so much love. I'm sending them condolences, and I hope that you will also leave some kind comments for them. It's always nice when family does look, and you'll be surprised how many families from all over the world, from many cases, look at what the coverage is of their loved one online. So please be kind and respectful to them, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe.